Okay, we've all been there, right? You know you should be doing something important, but you just can't. You can't make yourself do it. And we have a word for that, lazy. But what if I told you that's not what's happening at all? What if it's not a character flaw, but just how your brain is wired? Let's get into it. I mean, really think about it for a second. That big project you keep putting off, the workout you bailed on this morning, that feeling of just being totally stuck on the couch. Look, it's a completely universal feeling, and it turns out there's a really powerful scientific reason behind it. And this right here is the single most important idea we're going to cover. For years, we've been telling ourselves this story that we're lazy or undisciplined, but the reality, the neuroscience, says something completely different. Your brain is just running a very, very old survival program, and that program has one rule: conserve energy no matter what. So yeah, let's just bust this myth wide open. This isn't about letting yourself off the hook or making excuses. It's about actually understanding the machine that you're working with up there. That feeling you've been labeling lazy, it's actually this deep, ancient survival instinct kicking into high gear. That's exactly it. To your brain, spending energy on something that doesn't have an immediate, obvious payoff, that feels like a threat. It's a potential danger. I mean, think about it. For our ancestors, wasting precious energy could literally mean the difference between life and death. Your brain hasn't forgotten that. It still flags hard work as a risk to its energy budget. So, how does the brain actually decide what gets the green light and what doesn't? Well, it's constantly running this ruthless, kind of lightning-fast cost-benefit analysis for every single thing you think about doing. And this all happens in the background without you even realizing it. And this one question right here, this governs everything. When your brain is faced with a choice between, say, something that's uncomfortable but good for you in the long run and something that's easy and familiar right now, its default setting is always, always efficiency. It's going to pick the path of least resistance almost every time. Yeah, this table pretty much sums it up perfectly. Your brain loves stuff with a quick reward and very low effort. Think about endlessly scrolling social media. And it actively avoids things with a delayed reward and any kind of mental discomfort, like studying for a big exam. One path is super easy and predictable. The other is hard and uncertain. It's really no contest for your brain. So what's the real driving force behind this whole internal calculation? It's not your logic. It's not your reason. It all comes down to a single, really powerful chemical that basically acts as the brain's motivation currency. And that chemical is dopamine. Now, you've probably heard it called the pleasure chemical, but that's not quite the full story. It's really the motivation chemical. And here's the crucial part. It's released in anticipation of a reward. So your brain gets that little dopamine hit just by thinking about checking your phone. The hard work that has a payoff way, way down the road, it just can't compete with that immediate expected hit. Okay, so this brings us to the one thing we all try to rely on: willpower, right? We think, if I just try harder, if I just force myself, we can achieve anything. But the science is pretty clear on this. That strategy, it's pretty much doomed from the start. I want you to start thinking of your willpower not as some moral virtue, but more like your phone's battery. You wake up in the morning and boom, you're at 100%. You've got a full charge, you feel motivated, you're ready to take on the day. But then life happens. Every little decision you make, from what to wear to how to phrase that tricky email, it just drains that battery bit by bit. Then you add in the daily stress. Maybe you didn't get enough sleep, you're overthinking things, and that energy level just starts to plummet. And by the end of the day, this is what you're left with. When your mental energy is down in the red, your brain just defaults to its easiest, most automatic habits. That's why you grab the takeout instead of cooking. It's not a sign of weakness, it's just resource depletion. Your battery is dead. So if forcing yourself doesn't work, what does? This quote right here is the answer. Real, lasting discipline isn't about winning some brutal internal battle every single day. It's about designing your world, your environment, so that the right thing to do is also the easiest thing to do. All right, so let's get practical. Let's talk about the strategies that actually work. We're going to go through 4 really powerful science-backed techniques to help you stop fighting your brain and finally start working with it. First things first, you have to get past the brain's threat detector. The thought, I have to work on this project for 3 hours, is huge, it's intimidating, and your brain is going to hit the brakes. But what about the thought, I'm just going to open the document and write 1 sentence? That is so small, it feels like 0 effort. And that's the key. Your goal isn't to finish the project, it's just to start the tiniest, most ridiculously small piece of it. Next up, we gotta hack that dopamine system. We know your brain craves an immediate reward, so give it one. Right after you do your tiny 5-minute task, reward yourself. Instantly. Listen to your favorite song, have a sip of that good coffee. What this does is it starts to build a new connection in your brain associating that hard task with a little dopamine hit. It literally rewires you to want to do it again. Strategy 3 is all about becoming an architect of your own environment. Friction is just anything that makes an action harder to do. So if your gym clothes are buried somewhere in a drawer, that's friction. If your phone is sitting right there on your desk while you're trying to work, that's almost zero friction for distraction. So you just flip it. Lay out your workout clothes the night before. Put your phone in a totally different room when you need to focus. You want to make the good habit the true path of least resistance. And that brings us to our last strategy. And honestly, this one is probably the most profound, the most permanent way to create change. This goes way beyond little tips and tricks. This is about changing how you fundamentally see yourself. You see, this is a total reframe. So instead of trying to find the motivation to write, you just say, I am a writer, and writers write. Instead of trying to force yourself to the gym, you say, I am a healthy person, and healthy people move their bodies. When an action becomes part of your identity, it's no longer a choice you have to make. It's just who you are. It becomes non-negotiable. So, if you're going to take away one thing, let it be this. Your brain is not your enemy. It's just a super efficient machine that's trying to save energy. And to get it on your side, you just have to give it the right signals. Make the effort feel tiny, make the rewards immediate and clear, and build an environment around you that makes the right choice the easy choice. And you know, this is the really empowering part. This whole thing doesn't have to be a lifelong struggle. Once you get how your own brain operates, you can stop fighting against it and start designing for it. And when you do that, discipline stops being this constant battle and it just becomes automatic. It's the natural result of a well-designed system. So I'll leave you with this final thought to chew on. What if all this time you've been trying to win this brutal war against yourself, when all you really needed to do was just become a better negotiator? Understand what your brain wants, understand its rules, and then offer it a better deal.